Hi, welcome to Beauty for Ashes. Today we're going to be talking about the gift of tongues, interpretation of tongues, and self-control. We're going to be focusing primarily in 1 Corinthians 14. I encourage you to read that entire passage. It's super informational, and I just think that there's a lot that you can glean from that. To start, we're going to be talking about different kinds of tongues. So 1 Corinthians 14 verse 2 says, "For anyone who speaks in tongue does not speak to people but to God. Indeed, no one understands them. They utter mysteries by the Spirit." So speaking in tongues is like having a spirit language, like a personal language with God. And we don't actually understand what we're saying. It's like our spirit interceding for us. So a lot of times we don't even know what we need, but the Spirit knows that's living inside of us. So when we speak in tongues, we're groaning to the Lord and praying to the Lord in ways that we like, and asking Him for things that we don't even know that we need, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to move on to interpretation of tongues in verse 27 through 28, and this is still in 1 Corinthians 14. It reads, "No more than 2 or 3 people should speak at a time, and some must interpret what they say. But if no one is present who can interpret, they must be silent in your church meetings and speak in tongues only to God privately." So this verse is saying that there are certain people who can interpret tongues, and sometimes I or you might be able to interpret the tongues that you have as well. So and this is like you get revelation on what the tongue is, if that makes sense. So at my church, we don't discourage speaking in tongues. So if someone comes up and they need to speak in tongues, someone else interprets, or they can interpret for themselves. And so that kind of looks like them speaking in tongues and then saying, "This is what I believe the Lord is revealing through this tongue." And that can be a little bit confusing. Let me know if you have any questions about that. And then self-control is actually a fruit of the Spirit. It's not a gift, but I think that it has a lot to do with speaking in tongues and then the fruits and gifts of the Spirit overall. So verse 39 through 40, and this is still in 1 Corinthians 14, it says, "So my brothers, earnestly desire prophecy and do not forbid speaking in tongues, but all things should be done in decency and order." So I believe very firmly that when we are in the church and we are operating in the gifts of the Spirit, that we need to exercise self-control. And I'm sure you know what self-control is. If you don't, look it up. It's very, it's controlling yourself. But we need to have self-control in the way we use our gifts. So say I have the ability to speak in tongues. It wouldn't be very proper of me to start yelling in tongues in the middle of church. That's not proper in order. And in the same way, we do things in a manner, like we don't do healings and casting out spirits in the middle of a preacher preaching, right? Things are done in decency and order. And so I think that we need to exercise self-control in that. If you have any questions about tongues, or if you want prayer to receive the gift of tongues, it's a very cool gift along with all of the other gifts, but it's something that we need to pray over, and it's a gift that God wants to give you. But if you would like to receive any gifts, or if you have any questions about anything, let me know. This is the last one of our series on the gifts of the Spirit and the fruits of the Spirit. So let me know if you have any questions, and I encourage you to watch Dora's blog. Read it. Have a good one, guys. Bye.